There are some schools of thought that suggest the possibility that one could be in two places at once.
I can't tell what's real anymore. So I wander, following the tall man's path of destruction. One eye out for those spheres, and the other for him.
He is clearly delusional.
You're not even real. You're my bad dream. Stay out of my way.
Oh, it really is an amazing story.
Epic, actually.
Welcome to another episode of the Claw's Corner of the Zoom Edition. Today's guest is a writer, producer, and actress. Some of her movies include Phantasm RaVager, Motorcycle Gang, and Pleasantville. She has worked with Jake Busey, Tobey Maguire, Jack Black, Reese Witherspoon, Sarah Silverman, Donnie Most, and everyone's favorite badass ice cream man and former guest, Reggie Bannister. Please welcome the extremely talented Dawn Cody.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good considering that the world is falling apart. I'm safe and lucky, and I'm all right.
All right, well, I'm so glad to hear that. I know first we're just getting over the virus, and now as we're recording this, the riots are starting, so we just can't get a break.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna comment, but hopefully soon we will get a break.
Exactly. No, that's all you have to say. As we say, less is more. You don't have to say anything. Let's talk about you. This is what this whole show is about, is you. I first saw you in Phantasm RaVager because Phantasm growing up was my all-time favorite horror movie. It still is. And I loved the entire series. So how did you get involved with that movie?
How I got involved is David Hartman, who directed it with Don Coscarelli, had worked with Don. He and I had worked with Dave on a bunch of Channel 101 stuff, and we were good friends and, have a lot of respect for each other creatively. And he was like, I'm working on this super secret thing and I can tell you about it, but you can't tell anybody because if anything leaks to the fans, they will tell everyone. Like you guys talk to each other. So, I was sworn to absolute secrecy. In the beginning, it was actually supposed to be a web series. And so I thought I was doing a web series with Reggie. And then we shot a bunch of stuff, and then he and Don shot more, and they shot with Kat, and they shot with Angus, and they liked it so much, they just kept going, and they're like, actually, we're going to make this a feature. But you still can't say anything. So I kept kind of I don't know. I think being an actor, you start having a mechanism where you just forget stuff, because I go on auditions and I might be excited about an audition and I'll tell somebody. And then when I walk out the door, I just kind of forget about it. I think it's just so I won't be thinking about it too much. And then if I get a call back, I'm like, oh, great. And then I remember what I'm supposed to do. But so I kind of almost forgot that I did it because I wasn't allowed to talk about it. And then all of a sudden they release it. And I'm like, oh my God, I just had a baby. I gotta fit in a dress and go to the premiere in LA. And but Dave and I really, he's a really good person. He's very talented. And I basically said to him, anything you want me to do, I'll do. I totally trust you. And that's how it happened. And I think also he was a little intimidated working with all the Phantasm greats, you know, and who turned out to be like the nicest people in the world. You know, it's just, I was too. And then you meet them and it's like, oh, I feel like I'm with an old friend, you know, it doesn't, you know, they're just super nice and cool. Unfortunately, I didn't get to work with Angus. I didn't get to meet him. I didn't work with Kat either, but I met her later and she's just the loveliest person. All of them are.
Yeah. Well, they had a reunion in '98, was the 30th reunion. And I met the entire cast, and I recently had Reggie and Gigi on the show. As you said, every member of the cast is, especially Angus Scrimm, because he is so evil in that movie, and you see him, he's just like everybody's favorite grandfather. Hi.
So funny.
He's just like, were you a fan of the movies growing up?
Yes. Well, I really had only seen one and two growing up. I'll be honest, I need to go back and watch the rest of them. Like, I really want to see Gloria be a badass, but when that was the first thing I asked Dave when he said I was going to be in it. I'm like, do I get killed by a sphere?
Yeah.
Yes, you do. And I was like, all right, I'm in.
I'm in. You got to play two characters in that movie.
Well, I know, because when we first shot the first part, we thought it was a web series. It killed me off. And then he's like, we're doing a feature. I'm bringing you back. And what's funny is if you watch Laser Fart, the same thing happened. Like, I get killed off. And then Dave wasn't involved until I think the third episode. But then they brought me back because he's like, oh, I didn't know. Well, we're going to the Channel 101 thing, but Dan was like, I didn't know we would get voted back. I'll bring you back as your twin sister. So it's pretty funny. I got to be like my own twin and die twice. My mom hates it. She hates watching me die all those times. She won't watch Phantasm, actually. She gets panic attacks from horror films. And the funny thing is, my husband saw the first Phantasm when he was a kid, and it scared him so bad that when we went to the LA premiere, he didn't want to see the movie. He was scared.
Well, it's funny because I grew up watching horror movies. I mean, The Exorcist, Phantasm, Evil Dead. Out of all the movies I've seen, Phantasm is the only one that gave me nightmares. I was 10 years old when that movie came out, and all I remember is the tall man chasing after me. It was just such a freaky, creepy, original movie. I love it, and I still love it. Watching it, sometimes you go back and you watch movies, you're like, this is outdated. Not that movie. It's still as scary and creepy as it was back in '78.
Yeah, it's so good, and it's such a classic. And I mean, it's always been a dream of mine to be part of some kind of franchise that has a fan base like that, because I feel like those kind of fans are just amazing. Like, they know more about the movies than I ever will, no matter how many times I watch them.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just, it tends to be like very intelligent, very interesting people who are into both horror and sci-fi. You know, I love sci-fi too. On Star Trek and Star Wars, and you know, I don't prefer one over the other. I like them both.
Very diplomatic of you.
I enjoy the wars and the Trek. I enjoy both.
No, I do too. Do you like the original Star Trek with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, or the Patrick Stewart years?
I like both, but I guess I prefer the original because, you know, my mom was really into it when she was a teenager, and I watched, you know, the reruns with her when I was a kid, and just the style of it. I mean, I love mid-century modern architecture and design, and it's just like, you just watch the show and you're like, that chair is so cool. It's just, everything looks so cool, and the uniforms are so cool, and I love the Next Generation too, and but you just can't beat the original and the sets, and it's kind of kitsch in a way, but I don't know.
Yep, no, I agree with you.
William Shatner was my dad.
That's funny.
And
well,
somewhere in my house, and I have to pass it on to my son, I do have a Tribble somewhere in my house.
that was, I think, was it Clint Howard starred in that one? Ron Howard's brother.
Yes. And actually, I did a pilot with Ron Howard's dad,
Rance Howard.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it anywhere, but it was very funny. Like, I worked with him for a while. He played my dad in this pilot, and he's just the nicest. I actually went horseback riding with him one time. Like, we hung out a little bit. his wife died, and then I'm not sure if he thought we were going on a date, but I thought
Ron Howard could have been your stepbrother. Opie.
I know.
Red hair and everything.
He's so nice and so polite. It was never like weird, but the third time we hung out, I was starting to go, what's going on? We went to go see one of my friends' plays, and he fell asleep on the play.
Fun date, huh?
But he's just a sweet, lovely man. I will not say a word bad about him, except there might have been a little bit of a misunderstanding. But at one point, like we were shooting, he's like, Dawn, you look like you could be a part of our family. And I thought he thought of me as a daughter, but then I started to wonder. But
well, I said worst case, it's not a bad family to get involved in. But I'm glad that didn't happen. You're very happy with where you are. We have so much to talk about, but before we do, I want to do one more thing about Phantasm, because when I had Reggie and Gigi on, they were talking about the fan con at the time, and I know you were a part of it with the ladies of Phantasm. Tell me about that.
I honestly cannot believe that Gigi pulled it off. She is a badass. She had been talking about it for a while, and she ended up, she had some help from people, but she did it largely alone. She figured out the technical stuff, and Zoom was a nightmare to figure out, apparently. And, there was a couple times she wanted to quit, and we were all like, you can't quit. You got to at least try. Let's just try. She had, a bunch of sponsors, and then Comic-Con announced that they were going to do a virtual thing, and the sponsors pulled out. She had a lot up against her, but it ended up being really fun. I think the fans really liked it. I'm so glad she's doing Women of Phantasm, because I just love showing up with those ladies. They are the most amazing people and really supportive. We did Monster Palooza together, and it was the first time we did an event. It was the first time a lot of us had met. And as each of us were called out onto the stage for our panel at Monster Palooza, everybody backstage was just cheering and hollering. We were louder than the audience for each other. And it was just this feeling of like sisterhood that was so super cool. And I really have to commend Gigi for putting all that together. And I really hope this virus is going to calm down, because we were supposed to go to WonderCon together, and we were all I got a hotel room for 3 nights. I was going to party with these girls. We were going to hang out. I was going to have a mom's weekend.
Well, that's what I'm worried about. I mentioned that to Gigi. I said, I hope this is not, I'm so glad she did it, but I hope that's not the future of conventions, because I love going to conventions like Chiller, Fangoria, some of the other ones. And I love interacting with the stars like you and seeing them in person, getting a picture, talking to them. This is fun on Zoom, or it's fun, watching it, but still not the same. And I'm glad that we do have an alternative, but I don't want that to be the future of conventions.
I'm not a scientist. I can't tell you, but I'm glad that the upside with the virtual is that people from international, we had people from Australia and Spain at Phantasm Con. So that was good, that people from areas that would not normally be able to get to a con. But yeah, the interaction is just not the same as the interaction and meeting the fans and seeing what they're wearing. I love it when people dress up, and it's just so awesome, to be one-on-one. So it's not the same, but at least we had something,
Exactly.
all we can do right now.
Yeah. Well, speaking of you, I had so much fun doing research on your career. You came out with so many great shorts, which I'm going to talk about, but how did you get your start in acting?
How did I get my start in acting? Well, I was in a school play. I was kind of a rebel in high school. I was into death metal and hardcore punk.
All right.
So probably why I like horror movies. It's kind of funny. My best friend was punk and I was metal, but we went to all the same shows, and we were into the scene in DC, which was really fun. Very, our skinheads were not white power. They were, we had a.
Are you talking Black Flag?
More like Minor Threat.
Minor Threat, yes.
Yeah,
Ian MacKaye.
Vegetarian and straight edge.
Yeah. No, I love Minor Threat. Ian MacKaye is one of my favorite musicians. And I love that whole punk scene in DC. I love the metal scene. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
So in high school, I think by high school, it's like, oh my God, this girl's trouble. But then oh shoot. Sorry, I got a phone call. A scam artist. I totally lost my picture. Okay, sorry. So in high school, I was a bit of a rebel, and that's a whole long story how I got there. But I think they were worried about me at school until I started doing stuff with the drama department. And then they're like, "Oh, she's an artist. That must be it." And how I got the acting bug is we were doing a production of Splendor in the Grass, which was a Warren Beatty, Natalie Wood film later. And I was playing, I think my character was Ginny, and she was like I don't remember the character's names, Warren Beatty's sister. And she was like a flapper, and she was, the black sheep of the family. And I had a moment on stage where he was berating me for something. And I just had a comeback where I really spoke like, this is why I am the way I am. And it resonated for me as a person, like being judged like that. And I felt the audience sympathy turn to me, and that was it. That I could move a whole room of people with saying how I felt and having emotion. I mean, that was when the bug bit me. And also, I was never very good at math, and I decided to come out here and go to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And I was like, no math? Great.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the importance of math. People who are good at math, I admire, I wish, but I think I'm like a little dyslexic. And even though I understand the concept of it, like it always turns on me somewhere. So, but then what was funny is like the only academic class we had was theater history. And that was the only thing you knew you could get an A on if you aced all the tests. So that ended up being like, okay, at least I can memorize all this stuff and I'll get a good grade, because everything else is like subjective. So, but that's how it started. And then right out of acting school, I got an agent and I started booking commercials and got my SAG card and kept on plugging.
The rest is history.
Many years.
Well, I did see one commercial of yours, Mobile. Was that your first?
No, my first commercial was actually Clearasil.
Oh. Well, it seems like it worked.
Actually, I did like a non-union Pepsi commercial before that. And then if you look up Clearasil Crater Face, I think it's still on YouTube. And
I love it.
Commercial with Lark Voorhees and Jeremy Davies, who was also, as I was at school with Jeremy Davies. But yeah, so Lark Voorhees, who was very nice. I know she's had some trouble since then, but she was great to work with on the set then. And she insisted on doing her own hair. And after talking to some Black girlfriends of mine, I know why. I was like, why did you do her own hair? And they're like, yeah, we have to do that.
Unfortunately, the only one I met on that cast is Screech.
He's the one you remember the most,
That is very true. He's the only one that went on to all three different adaptations of it, like Saved by the Bell, the college years, and the retirement years, whatever they made after that. I gave up. Now, do you prefer movies to stage or stage to movies?
Well, they're so different. I mean, it's great to be on stage because you're in real time with the audience reaction.
Yes, I've done comedy, so I know that what you're talking about, because you get the instant gratification. If somebody likes what you're doing, you feed off the audience. And then in a movie, you have to wait until it comes out 6 months to a year later, and like, I hope they like this.
But stage is also a lot of rehearsal.
Yes.
A lot. It's very time consuming. Just to get it up on its feet. And that's probably kind of why I gravitated towards like the comedy video online stuff, because you just got out there and shot it. You just, it's very interesting because I have had like with Pleasantville, the experience of a very high budget. And then, I've shot stuff in my living room of my apartment and and making props the next night and hoping you get them all done by the next morning. And, kind of doing everything myself. I mean, when we did Fire Guys, I was like doing hair, I was like twisting people's hair to get it under their wig and spray painting props. And I love both. They're both so different. You're one thing, you're doing everything, and the other, you're like only allowed to do your thing. So it's fun to do both. But it's nice when something has a budget and somebody's pampering you all the time. It really is.
That would be very nice. Nice to have a trailer, have some real catering. But you mentioned Fire Guys. I want to talk about that because personally, nothing offends me. I think you can make pretty much anything funny. Question I have for you is watching Fire Guys, I was laughing so hard, but I'm thinking if you made that now, there probably would be some backlash. Back then when you made it, did you have any backlash?
No, because, well, yes and no. The reason it was made, it is satire.
Yeah, exactly.
It is making fun of men. It is allowing women to be extremely misogynistic. And for those that don't know, I made a show for channel101.com, which, you know, you can do your research what that's all about. But, and I had, like, Lady Policeman didn't get into the show. I had to do something called Pulling a Chauncey based on a guy named Chris Chauncey. Anyway, there's a lot of history of Channel 101. And I was having a hard time getting my shows into the screening, you know, and I just had another rejection. And I was like, fine, you don't want to see a show with a female protagonist. I'm going to make a show with all men and have all women play it. And it was sort of my, like, F you to the boys club.
It was hilarious.
And most men took it like we are being made fun of. You know, this is pointing some stuff out to us. And I don't know how it would play today, but, you know, it was really, you know, that the truth is maybe I have a latent misogynist inside me and I had fun.
Well, I think it was perfect because you made it before social media was really big. Now everybody has that mock anger where they're, you know, keyboard warriors saying, oh my God, I can't believe she did that. Most people you see on the street be like, hey, I think that's hilarious. So I think there's a lot of people that really would make believe they're really angry with it, but I thought it was hilarious. And Lady Policeman is another one. It's just the exact opposite, where you're the tough cop and all the guys are saying, what are you doing? You're a woman. It's hilarious. I love the satire in both of them and how you play both ends of the spectrum.
I know, it's fine. Well, you know, it's like my mom was kind of a feminist. She had a t-shirt that said a woman without a man is like a fish without a bicycle. And she had the pregnant man t-shirt that said, what if it was you? And when I was a little kid, I stuffed envelopes for Now with her, and she used to work for Zero Population Growth. And, you know, she didn't like wearing bras or high heels. I like bras and high heels, but, you know, like, kind of, you know, we're kind of post-feminist now. We get to, we don't have to, because those ladies swung the pendulum so far. We're, you know, have the privilege of living in a world that you don't have to, well, I don't know.
Different
That's
times.
another conversation.
Exactly. That'll be Dawn Cody part 2.
Okay.
The feminist years.
I can talk a lot. Don't get me going. Anyway, you know, that was, you know, and at the time, Channel 101 had this like forum that we, you know, like a post board. And when Lady Policeman got rejected, I just came on and like was putting all these like really militant feminist things up, like, you know, as a joke. Like, one of the quotes was like, men are just rapists and that is all they are, which I don't believe, but it was, you know, it's so just harsh that it was just fun to post it. And I was doing like a character. So,
anyway. To understand it's so over the top that you are obviously making fun of things. You're not taking it seriously. It's not playing as a drama. So that's why I asked you that question, because I think a lot more people would be offended now than they would back when it was made 13 years ago or whenever it was.
I had some actual firefighters. I had a lot of firefighters that were fans of it. Like there was a female firefighter that was like making a lot of comments on YouTube, and she loved it, and some male firefighters that really got it. But I did have a couple comments from guys like, oh yeah, you're just saying we're all like this. And I'm like, oh no, I'm not making fun of firefighters. I'm making fun of men.
Exactly.
It's not personal to you and society in general. And also I'm kind of having fun.
Well, that's the most important thing. I can obviously tell that. So I want to talk about that with Channel 101, because I think a lot of these played on that. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is Channel 1?
Channel 101, and it's still going on. I haven't been participating for a while, but it started in 2003, and it's before like YouTube took off. In fact, Andy Samberg kind of who was in The Lonely Island, who did a lot of Channel 101 stuff as The Lonely Island, kind of put YouTube on the map virally with Lazy Sunday when they got on SNL. And this was before that. So there wasn't a lot of online content. I don't even think Funny or Die was around yet. And we had a very loyal group of fans. And so there was a live screening. Anybody in the world can make a 5-minute or less Channel 101 pilot. And the audience picks their top 5, and the ones with the top 5 that have the most votes come back and make another episode, and anybody else is either canceled or a failed pilot. And the creators that made the top 5 get to choose what goes in the next screening. So you're voting both for their show and for their taste. And I went to, my friend Sammy Primero had some videos he made for early incarnations that I went and saw. And I remember I went to the first Channel 101 screening, and I was just like, I need to do something for this.
How did you become involved with Channel 101?
Well, like my friend Sammy, I went and saw the first screening. I started getting ideas to make something. Also, I met Dan Harmon at that first screening, and he came up and said something to me like, hey, why don't you make a show called The Hot Chick? And I gave him a dirty look and walked away. And then I think like the next screening or something, I started talking to him, and I'm like, oh, he's not so bad. I thought he was like a total cheeseball asshole, but he's not so bad. And then we ended up dating for a few years, and we made some stuff together, and then we broke up, and I kept making stuff, and but I got involved before, I was coming to screenings and got involved before like Dan and I started dating, I guess.
Yeah. One collaboration you did was Laser Fart as well. That's another hilarious. Now, was that part of Channel 101, or was that a movie that you made? Because, well, I'll let you tell the story.
Okay, so 1 month there weren't a lot of submissions, and Dan had been making this joke all the time, like, kind of making fun of the show itself. So like, if you're gonna put your submission Laser Fart in, just make sure you have it in by this date, and here's the address or whatever. So he was always making a joke about Laser Fart, and I would been working all day, and I came home, and he's like, I'm gonna make Laser Fart today. There's not enough submissions. I'm just gonna make it like really quickly, and I'm gonna just put it in the show in case there isn't enough content. So, and I was like, can I take a shower? And he's like, no, that's okay. You don't have to. I'm like, okay, I'll just do it. My hair is like in a ponytail, and I'm like unshowered that day. And so we made the first episode, and no matter how crappily made something is, Dan is a genius freaking writer. So it was crazy. Like, we put signs on the wall that said like office and an arrow, and we drug our water cooler, our water bottle thing into the living room so he and Jeff could have a conversation around the water cooler, but it was just really our living room. And it was very silly, but it's about a man who eats a burrito that he has cooked in a malfunctioning microwave oven, and it gives him the ability to fart lasers. And in that first episode, I do die. And
Yes.
then there's a second episode, and I think he did that with Jack. I think it was him and Jack Black. And then the third episode, he's like, well, I guess it's going to keep coming, so keep going, so I'm going to bring you back. But and Jack was very, very dedicated to doing it. Like, he was starting to have a lot going on in his life, and there was another show called Time Belt, and one month, Dan called up Jack, and he's like, hey, if you can't shoot this month, I know you're really busy. He's like, no, we have to beat Time Belt.
Yeah.
So
How did he become involved?
he and Dan were just friends and knew each other, and it was fun to call up your celebrity friends and ask them to be in stuff. Like, there was one called Call Me Cobra. I wasn't in that one, but I did do makeup on it and helped. I think maybe my voice was in it, but Drew Carey was in it, and Jeff Davis had drinks with Kato Kalin, and we were like, oh, Kato gotta be in this. So they gave him this role, Detective Jordash, and I have to say, Kato is like the nicest guy. He's preemptively nice because he's just treated like crap constantly every day of his life. But it's like, you got Drew Carey and Kato Kalin in the same show because it's funny.
Well, two other people that you got for your show was Sarah Silverman, which you did with Funny and Die with her, and also Donnie Most, Ralph Mel from Happy Days.
Yeah. Was I in a scene with him? I'm trying to remember. There's so much stuff. Okay, you got to refresh my memory about Donnie Most.
I didn't see you in a scene with him. I saw one episode with Donnie Most. You weren't in that scene, but I saw that on your
Channel 101 musical.
Yes, it was. I was going to talk about that after. I love that. There's like 5 or 6 episodes. There might be more, but I saw 5, I think, and he was in one of the episodes.
Okay, I didn't work with him. I know he was in it, and I think that was Mike McCafferty and Jason McCarris' show, Channel 101, the musical.
Okay.
Also, did you watch Yacht Rock?
I did not.
Okay, do you know how everybody's calling a music genre yacht rock now?
That's where they got that from?
That was coined by J.D. Riznar, Hunter Stair, and I think Hollywood Steve. And you got to watch Yacht Rock in the second episode. And I think they're responsible for bringing back that kind of music in a way, because it went totally viral. And then like people who say yacht rock don't even know what yacht rock is. Like I went to a friend's party and this band Yachtly Crew was playing, and they were playing all yacht rock music. And they're like, I was like, yacht rock, I was in the second episode. And they're like, what? I never heard of that. And I'm like, you're in a band called Yachtly Crew and you don't know what yacht rock the show was? Okay. And
That's
also
funny.
If you follow JD Riznar on Twitter, he is often like the Yacht Rock channel on Sirius. He's often criticizing them for playing stuff that is not yacht rock.
Definitely have to check that out, and hopefully all my viewers do as well, because I have not been disappointed by anything that I've seen you be a part of, with either behind the scenes or in front of the scenes. 2 more really quickly. One was the Conjoiners. I loved it. It was you had a twin and you're joined at the hip. And the one I saw was where you're trying to get a date. It's just hilarious. That's what it is. It's silly fun.
Okay, so my child is the only child. I'm only child. I've always kind of been obsessed with twins. So I've always been kind of obsessed with twins. And then me and Kelsey, I just wanted to really work with Kelsey, and our hair was kind of similar at the time. And so I just wrote the silly thing, and it was for, what was that show called? It was based on Channel 101, and you could have user submissions on their website. Anyway, it wasn't actually Channel 101 proper. It was like the Channel 101 show, and the name of it, I already forgot. I'll remember in a second, but we did it for that. It wasn't for Channel 101 proper. And we did get some crap for that.
Really? It was fun. How many episodes did you do of that?
We just did one.
I did see that one then. And the other one, which you did a dark comedy, which that's my favorite type of comedy. It was called It Came From the Box. Words about that.
Okay, so Benny Arthur, who is now a regular on Drunk History, very good friend of Derek Waters, he was doing sort of an homage to classic horror noir type of genre, and he asked me to be in it, and I was, and it was fun, and I got to play kind of a, classic 50s heroine, screaming heroine, which we actually did a little of in Laser Fart. There was a Halloween episode when Rob Schraub, we could break down on the road, and Rob Schraub opens the door and he's like, I'd love to have you for dinner. And we're like, wait, so are you saying? He's like,
what do you mean? That's funny.
I love that.
Yeah, that was hilarious. It's about this guy who keeps his brother in the box, and the brother is killing people. It's a fan box. Yeah, it's oh my gosh, you're bringing up stuff I haven't thought about in a long time. My brain is like going back into the old files and dusting them off and going, oh, I got to connect. I went deep into the archives for this interview.
I love it. I love that you did that. I'm glad. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. My IMDb is just littered with random stuff sometimes I'm like, is this a good thing or a bad thing? It just kind of scrolls on forever with me. A lot of things people have not heard of. Some things you have and some things you haven't. Like, you know, I was in the Knots Landing reunion.
Yes. Also Young and the Restless.
It was like one of my first theatrical gigs. I did a few episodes of The Young and the Restless. So
yes. What was that like?
I did an episode of Santa Barbara.
What was it like working on soap operas? The reason I ask, because I don't like soap operas, but I do have a lot of respect for them for this reason, because every day they have to write a new story and they have to keep it going. It's not like a movie. You have a couple months to write the script and then film it. It's continuous. So tell me what the experience was like with that.
They are sitting in the makeup chair with their script, which probably just had changes, and trying to memorize it. I mean, It's like, you know, I think sometimes the reason that acting comes off kind of melodramatic, well, it's supposed to be melodramatic, it's a melodrama, but it's because these are people who are just barely have their lines memorized, and they are trying to act like not even know barely what they're saying, you know. And I watch people in the makeup chair like memorizing their lines, and I'm like, oh, this is hard. But, you know, I think, you know, like anything else, the more you do of memorization, to me, the hardest thing to memorize is Shakespeare, because everybody knows the lines. And if you mess up that iambic pentameter, you're just like way off beat, and end up spiraling after that. But yeah, it's amazing what they have to do every day. And I guess, you know, if you know your character and stuff, but I don't think they're like improvising. Like, I would probably just start improvising because I like improvising. But yeah, when I did the Knots Landing reunion, unfortunately, I got a big laugh on my line, and then I got in trouble.
What was the line?
Well, in the audition, so I didn't really watch the show. But the backstory is, I was, I think, Michelle Lee's son's new wife. And the joke ongoing in the show is that she never got along with his girlfriends. Mm-hmm. And I was a bitch. And we're at like their wedding anniversary party or something. And she says to me like, oh, it's so great that you came. And I'm like, oh, well, I had the beginnings of a headache, but we just couldn't make it. I mean, we just couldn't miss it. I had the beginnings of a headache, but we just couldn't miss it. And in the audition, the way I said it, the director was like laughing. And then I, you know, did it more, and he laughed. Get on the set with all those divas. And I did my line, and the crew cracked up, everybody cracked up. And I'm like, oh, I'm doing a good job. And the director pulls me aside, and he's like, listen, I'm not believing anything you're doing. You're not feeling well. Like, I think they didn't like that I got a big laugh. And
so there was a lot of ego on that set, huh?
I think a diva complained about me is what happened. Oh. And then, you know, I'm like nobody, like Brian Austin Green was on the set that day. Everybody's treating him like he was nobody. Like they were like, get away, kid. The stars are here. You know? And I'm just sitting there, and they wouldn't let me go back to my trailer. I wanted to like go back to my trailer and like kind of compose myself, because I just basically got chewed out, you know? He didn't do it in front of everybody, but I felt bad, you know. I thought I was doing the right thing, and I may have played it up even more. I don't know, after the second take.
Well, here's one thing I don't like. I was talking about this with somebody else, with a filmmaker. I said, as a director, I don't care how big the star is. This is your show. This is your film. You should be in charge. I wouldn't want the star telling me, well, I don't like this. Get rid of this. It's like, no, sorry, this is my movie. You do what you said. I mean, a diplomatic way of saying it, but if that is what happened, which it sounds like it was, the star shouldn't say, I don't like this. The director liked it, and that's why he hired you.
Yeah, and there was weird stuff, like the makeup artist. Like, I felt like the makeup artist was like purposely trying to make me look bad, and it just weird. Somebody, I actually felt like on that set, somebody kind of had it out for me, and I'm like, oh my God, like I just tried to do my job. Like I was so excited to do this, you know, and work with you guys. But, you know, those people were big stars for a long time, and sorry, director, like you probably didn't have absolute control over that. And it's the reunion. It's not even like a series. Like the guy's directing the reunion. So
it wasn't like them in their prime. It's more of the reunion.
Yeah, so they're extra diva-y, probably.
Now, speaking of big name actors, you were in Pleasantville, and that had such a great cast. Besides Tobey Maguire, besides Reese Witherspoon, you had Jeff Daniels, J.T. Walsh, Joan Allen, and Don Knotts. What was it like working on that set?
Well, I did not work with Don Knotts, and also Paul Walker, who is an extremely lovely person, and it's
Fast and the Furious
that he's gone. We got to be friends on the set. He's just a doll. But Joan Allen is amazing. It's funny because there was a whole bunch of us that were like the kids in the town, and they wanted us, the principals, to be in the front of every shot. And so we were on the set all the time, even if we had nothing to do. We were always hanging around, and we all got to be friends. And, you know, this is before everybody had a smartphone, so we play games like throw rocks in a bucket because we were just sitting there for so long. And they built this whole town in the middle of Malibu Creek State Park in a parking lot, like with all these facades and some buildings that we did interior shots in, like the soda shop. And one night we were all like just bored, and we're like, oh, we're gonna go look. You know, a few of us went to go take a walk through the town because they were shooting at the other end. And Jeff Daniels was sitting there by himself, and a couple of us walked up to him, and we were all like shy. We started talking to him, and he was just so nice. And he's like he teaches like acting, and you know, so he's really nice and all about like younger actors. And so he was really cool to us. And then like the next night we did the same thing, but it was the whole gang. And you could see the look on his face, and he was like, oh, I see you told all your little friends. So we all sat down and talked to him. Joan was amazing. I just like the kindest, nicest lady. When I went to the premiere, you know, I went over to her and just started gushing about how amazing she is. And she took my hand and she looked me in the eye and she goes, you were very good. And just like gave it all back to me. And William H. Macy, I got to watch him work, but I didn't really work with him because we weren't in the same scenes together. But it was just amazing. Like, where's my dinner? Like him running through the town, where's my dinner? And so it was a great group of people. Tobey Maguire gambled, playing backgammon, and took almost everybody on the set for money. I think he made like double his salary, like just betting the producers and everybody at backgammon. And I played him once for a back massage, which I lost, and I had to give him a back massage, but I did not give him any money. Another girl that worked with me, and like we, you know, we were like similar part. She like bet him some money, and I'm like, you're not going to really make her pay you, are you? And she's like, I am. I'm going to pay him. And I'm like, you're stupid. Like, why would you do that?
Well, I can't remember the name of the movie, but there is a movie about this woman who was.
What was the name of that? Yeah, and Toby was in it.
Toby was in it. Well, his character, the guy played Tobey Maguire, and they don't think they mentioned him by name, but everybody knew that was Toby. So I guess you confirmed the true rumors about the story about his gambling. Yeah.
And about Paul Walker, on the other hand, he found out like this guy that was an extra was a surfer, and he invited him to hang out in his dressing room, and he actually taught me how to play backgammon. He's like, oh, you don't know how to play? Oh, let me teach you. And like we would play, and just a really good person. So it's a horrible loss.
Yeah, I know. What about Reese? She seems like I love her movies because she can go from a dark comedy to this wholesome character. What's she like in real life?
She's very nice. I mean, she kind of kept to herself. Like, you know, she was but she was always very nice and cool, and, you know,
that's good.
Likable, professional, you know. She didn't really like hang out with us much, but we were kind of like the kids in the ghetto section in the honey wagons, you know, hanging out, throwing rocks in a bucket, and everybody else had bigger trailers. And
that's funny. Well, I'm glad this experience.
Toby would come hang out with us though, because he was bored. So
who was?
Toby would come hang out with us because he was bored.
He probably wanted to win more money. Well, you know what? I'm glad that experience in Pleasantville made up for your experience in Knots Landing, because it seems like the divas in Pleasantville were much nicer than the divas in that.
Yeah. Well, that's how it, usually the bigger the star, the nicer they are because they don't have anything to prove. I mean, and that's what's amazing about the Phantasm icons is they're all like super nice and, they're famous, but they're not like, Tobey Maguire famous. But they're just, and I think it's like, part of it is having that fan base is like, you get constant love, but I don't know. I guess soap operas have a fan base too. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I can personally say Reggie, at the time when I met him, he had his own table away from Coscarelli, Bill Thornberry, everybody. And I talked to him for the first time I met him, I think 25, 30 minutes. He just loves meeting the fans, appreciates all his celebrity, and was such a nice, down-to-earth guy. I mean, I messaged him like I messaged you. I said, you want to do the show? Within 15 minutes. Yeah, me and Gigi would love to do the show. That's how, accessible he was. And I appreciate you and Reggie being like that.
He's so sweet. He's just the sweetest man. He's like really cool and like down to earth. Yeah. We shot in their house. Like I was killed in their bed.
Oh, really?
In their loft, in their cabin. And in Crestline, and they live way the hell out there. I mean, I worry about them sometimes because they get snowed in. Like this last winter, like I think their heater was broken for a while, and but they're the real deal. They're really cool, and Gigi is very protective. Like when I did my death scene, I was up to my waist in fake blood, and in their bed with a plastic sheet underneath.
Yeah.
And she was worried I was going to go into hypothermia, and she was just very like mama bear, like very protective of me. And she made me feel really safe,
I could see that. I only met her the interview lasted 2 hours, but I could definitely see that her being like that. I was joking with Reggie. I said, I feel so bad because just once I wanted to see you get the woman. And in Ravager, I said, all right, he's going to get her. And then he falls asleep. And I said the one time he does get the woman, it ends up being the tall man. He even wrote a song for you and everything.
I know. But then I didn't remember, and I thought he was just crazy.
I know. That was a perfect way to end that whole series. I love Ravager. So normally, a lot of people, not with Phantasm, but with anything that ends in general, they're always disappointed. I love the way it ended. I love the way they brought Rocky back, everybody else back at the very end, and you just took off in the car with A. Michael Baldwin. So, kudos to Dan Hartman and everybody else and Coscarelli in the cast.
Oh, I'm so honored to have been a part of it. I really feel like Ravager was for the fans. They really tried to make callbacks to things from all the other movies, and it was for the fans, really.
Yeah. Very well done. There's one other director I want to talk to you about. You were in a movie called Motorcycle Gang, which was a remake with Jake Busey, but the director on that film was John Milius, which he did Red Dawn. He wrote Apocalypse Now. Right. He was actually credited with writing the Indianapolis scene for Quint and Jaws, Conan the Barbarian, HBO's Rome. What was it like working with him?
He, from what God, that was so long ago. He smoked a lot of cigars, and he was really nice to me. I think I worked like 2 days on that, but I mean, I didn't get to talk to him a lot or get to know him very well, but it was certainly an honor to work with him, and he gave me some good direction. I wish I could remember more what it was about. But I had originally read it was Carla Gugino, am I saying her name right, that I played opposite with in that, and I originally read for her part, but I got the part of like the best friend who was all excited. What did I do? I think I gave her like a pin of James Dean or something, and it was like, maybe you'll meet him. But the funny thing is, later I ended up at a Super Bowl party at Jake Busey's house. This was years later, and his dad was there.
Yes, I met him.
And his dad sat on my lap and told me about Jesus.
Yes, I met him at one of the conventions, and he was talking about that to me as well.
And it's just like, you can't even be mad because he, you know, but he was a little close to me. He got a little close. I'm like, why are you sitting on me? I'm much smaller than you are.
What was it like working with Jake? Because you also work with Gerald McCraney as well. He's a good actor.
Gerald McCraney, yes, he was the father and of the girl who was my best friend who was leaving town. So I get to work with him a little bit. He was great, you know, just one of those people that's just so good right out of the box, like, you know, just a couple takes. And Jake I didn't work with because she met him once they were on the road.
Okay.
I don't even know where you could find that show. It's got to be somewhere, I guess.
Well, it was originally on Showtime in 1994. All I could find on YouTube was the trailer. So I saw the trailer, and I just did a lot of research on the movie, like for this interview. But I did, from what I saw, I liked,
They were doing remakes of like all those old movies, and which was a cool idea, really, you know. But God, that was so long. That was like one of my first things I ever did that wasn't a commercial.
You started off right off the bat. I mean, John Milius is a big name in Hollywood. You know, he wrote some pretty classic movies like Apocalypse Now, Red Dawn. So you started off right out of the gate.
Yeah, I got to work with some really good people, and you know, Pleasantville continued that, and who knows? Right now, nothing's happening because everything is shut down. But
but hopefully within the next couple months. I mean, who knows? Nobody, like you said, we're not psychics. We don't really know what's going to be happening. So I mean, hopefully the best. Now let's go back a little bit. What is Ship of Fools Productions?
Ship of Fools Productions is my friends Mike McCafferty and Jason McCarris's. Wait, Ship of Fools? That was from Channel 101, the musical. Where did you get that name from?
In my research. It was either online. I watched a lot of your videos. I read a lot about you, so I can't remember exactly where I found it, but I think I saw it. You know what? I think I saw it on one of your because I've subscribed to your channel.
Oh, okay. So I've got on my YouTube channel, I've got my videos list, and then I just made a list of other things I was in that were other people's. So Ship of Fools is probably someone else's. I think that's Mike McCafferty and Jason McCarris's.
Okay.
But we all just made up our production companies. Like for Channel 101, I think I did like one time I did like Fox Power Productions or something.
Yeah. Sounds powerful. I like that. Well, you have a very interesting connection with William F. Cody, a.k.a. Wild Bill. Tell me about that.
Buffalo Bill. Wild Bill is Hickok. They were friends, but they're not the same person. He is my first cousin. I think it's 5 times removed. I got to count back again. But I am directly descended from his uncle. His father and my great grandfather or whatever were brothers, and he did not have a son, so I'm kind of the closest you can get and still have the Cody name. I'm not sure if he had a brother though. I should probably look that up before I say that. But yeah, my family, there's a lot, and also like my great grandmother was a modern dancer who did like Isadora Duncan style modern dancing and brought it to the US. My great grandmother taught Hollywood. She was like a script reader, and she taught Hollywood stars dance. My grandfather, I got to get this story down better. One of Charlie Chaplin's wives.
Wow.
My great grandmother was teaching dance too, and my grandfather would walk her dog and bring her a glass of water, you know, during that time. And one day, a delivery person came to the door and had a package for Master Peter Cody, and he was so excited. He's like, what is it going to be? It's from Mrs. Chapman. Is it going to be a pony? Is it going to be a train set? What is it? And he said, and then the delivery man brought in a great big potted plant. And he said he wrote her a letter that said, dear Miss Chaplin, thank you so much for the potted plant. And he wanted to make sure she knew he got a potted plant because he was sure somewhere a little old lady had gotten a pony.
This must have been delivered to the wrong house. That's definitely not from Chaplin. That's hilarious.
That same great-grandmother, my great-grandfather was a journalist in France in the 1920s. So if you watch Midnight in Paris,
yes,
all of those scenes with those people, they knew all those people. So my great-grandparents were like extras in that movie. Like when I see the extras, I'm like, there they are. They're sitting back there having a drink. Like, because my great-grandmother, like, they knew Hemingway. They knew, what's the other one that hung out with Hemingway? Well, all those writers, they hung out with all those people. And my great-grandmother used to say of Hemingway, never liked the man. She thought he was rude and a misogynist, which he was.
Yeah.
But she made my father read all of his books.
That's what I love that movie. I saw it not that long ago. What scenes, I mean, yeah, you would know this. What scenes were they in?
Well, they weren't actually in the scenes, but all of those scenes where they're in the salons and it's all the artists together, like Frida Kahlo walks in, it's like they're all, together. That was their scene.
Okay.
They hung out with in France in the 1920s.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. All right. Well, obviously the acorn does not fall far from the tree.
Try.
Well, Dawn, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. It was great having you. You are hilarious, very talented, and it was an interesting interview. So I know that right now it's kind of tough with COVID-19 and the protests, but what's next if you have anything in the future, and where can people find you?
Well, Dawn Cody official Instagram and Dawn Cody official Facebook. I have a shop. My website needs a little work, but I'll get that together. I have a Shopify site if anybody wants like signed pictures or anything like that. I think I have it linked on my Instagram. My personal Dawn Cody accounts, I share a lot of pictures of my kids, so I'd rather the fans go to the official ones so I don't have to like mark everything as private. And I just, I want to keep him more anonymous just because I'm sure you're all very nice people, but I know there's some not very nice people out there, and I just don't, I want to keep his stuff private. So please follow my official accounts. Very good. That's where you can find me. I actually want to start doing some more writing, but right now this kid takes up so much, the homeschooling and all that, right? In a little while I got to get him ready for his Zoom karate class. So which I end up doing with him. He's punching and kicking me.
Well, you have all that experience from the lady policeman.
Yeah. I have a gi somewhere. I was going to wear it for the last class, but I can't find it. But I have a gi from Lady Policeman, and I don't know what box it's in. But I enjoy it. I might start doing some karate for real because I love his class, and I kind of want to do it all. So, yeah, I want to start writing. I got to think of a way to be more creative again. But I did sort of take a break just to raise him because it's a lot, it's more than I thought it was going to be. Kids are, if you're really, really involved, it's a lot of work, but I really
took a lot of your time. Now, do you prefer writing books or screenplays?
I have a story I need to write, and it'll be interesting to see what form it takes. I'm not sure yet. Which direction it's going to go. I'm used to more writing in the screenplay format, but we'll see. I just joined a writers group with some women in my neighborhood who are really cool, and I'm going to start. We'll just see where it goes. You can't, like when you're first starting out, you can't judge it too much, and you have to really just be writing for yourself. So I'm not sharing anything about it yet.
Well, I 2 years ago, I came out with a self-published book on Amazon called Confessions of a Frenetic Mind, where it's 5 different stories, and I belong to a writing group as well. And for me, all I did was I sat down there, I had an idea what I wanted to do, and I would they call it a pantser, like off the seat of your pants, instead of more of a plotter. Are you more of a pantser or a plotter when you're writing?
I think I'm more of a pantser. I'm more, and then I like to write stuff and then go back and then organize it. But a lot of time it does come out a lot of stream of consciousness. That's how I'm just best at that for everything. I'm not a very well organized person in general.
Now, do you write longhand first and then go back to the computer and put it in there?
I've done both ways. I find now when I try to write longhand, like I'm just don't have that skill anymore. So I probably will be typing. My hand, like anytime I have to write anything of any length by hand, my hand cramps up and I'm like,
Yes.
oh my God, I'm just not writing anything anymore. I'm typing everything.
Well, that's the problem with me. I can't get the thoughts out fast enough. So by the time I'm ready, I already have 5 thoughts down. On the third thought, I'm like, oh my God, this is killing me. So I know exactly what you're talking about. But I just like taking a notebook and going to, say, a coffee shop, just sitting down and writing there. So I'm not, I don't know, for some reason, I don't like sitting down here at my desk and writing. Just I need change of atmosphere. But it's, I do like.
We're all closed.
I know, exactly. So I'm back to the desk.
Yeah. Well, one way that I do use handwriting is to memorize lines. It was the way an acting teacher taught me, where you look at the line before yours and you guess what your line is and you write it out. And then you compare and you make reasons why what you wrote, like what the line is different. And that's the way I memorize. I actually I got roped into doing, my kid goes to a JCC, a Jewish Community Center school, and I got roped into doing their last Purim play. And of course they made me the freaking narrator. I was Olaf, they did a Frozen version. Anyway, but I had a lot of lines and I just, did my thing and it's time consuming. And the main compliment I got from everybody's like, how did you memorize all those lines? I'm like, honey, if I can't memorize that, I'm in trouble.
Did you ever have that experience? Would you have maybe a long monologue in the middle of it? What am I going to say? What's my next line? Did you ever just blank out in the middle of a scene?
Me in rehearsal? Okay. I think I probably had some, I don't know. I don't remember. If you're shooting something, you just stop and then just start again and you can look at it for a second. So
yeah, which is good.
Film. Yeah. Or you just sit there for long enough and then you remember and then you pick up where you left off and they'll just cut it. We'll just cut it.
Well, that is the one positive with film over stage then. Because on stage it might be positive. Yeah. But on stage, obviously you're good at improv and you like improv. You could probably improv something and hopefully the other actor will go along with you.
Or, sometimes the other actor will help you, and they'll say something like, so you were saying blah, blah, blah. Oh, yes, I was saying.
So what's that book in your hand? Oh, yeah.
Were you trying to tell me that blah, blah, blah? Oh, yes, I am. You are definitely that.
As a matter of fact, yes, I was. Stop taking words out of my mouth. All right, Dawn, it was great having you on the show.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
All right. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Claws Corner, the Zoom edition. I would like to thank the very funny and the extremely talented Dawn Cody for appearing on my show. I would also like to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. Enjoy your day, everyone.
Remind you of anyone's face?
His skin's not that bad.
Oh, where's Chris been all week anyways? Maybe his face blew up.
Someone should tell him.
What, lose the zits?
We could slip him some Clearasil.
No one's going to tell you to your face you need Clearasil. Such strong medicine, Clearasil, guarantees fewer pimples in just 5 days.
It's Chris.
Chris?
Someone must have told him.
Clearasil, fewer pimples in 5 days and your money back, guaranteed.